Um, the idea for my second movie really came about when I was flying around all over the world, sort of promoting Ilo Ilo. I had no idea, like, you spend 3 years making a film and then you spend 2 years sort of promoting it. And, you know, I flew so much that I really ran out of in-flight entertainment to watch. And I knew I needed to, I wanted to write a film, I wanted to make another film, and somehow the idea of a woman sort of approaching a different phase of life, you know, approaching her 40s, came into my head, and I became quite obsessed with doing a portrait of a woman like that, you know, a woman that is in a midlife crisis, you know, whether it's sort of breaking point, whether in terms of her family life, her marriage, her career, and how she needs to redefine herself again, how she needs to restart her life again. It really started from there. I'm not a filmmaker who has sort of like lots of ideas in a bag or in a hat, and then, you know, you just pull them out easily. You know, when I don't actively hunt for a story, a lot of the stories that I'm interested in that that eventually become the films that I make, you know, they come find me, and somehow I've always been curious and interested, you know, about female identity, female characters. I think even though Ilo Ilo is very much about the boy and the maid, and it's an ensemble piece, but for me, you know, it was very much also about exploring the idea of motherhood, the idea of you know, the tension and the nuances and the dynamics between, you know, mother and, of course, the maid, the surrogate mother that comes into the story. And I think Wet Season seems to be a continuation of that exploration. You know, exactly why am I interested in like women characters? Why am I interested in female identity? I have no idea. You know, I might find out like in 10 years, in 20 years time, when I sort of like do a psychoanalysis of like yeah, my work. I mean, I've always wanted to, you know, combine or use the weather elements into a film. I've always felt like rain is very atmospheric, rain is very poetic, it's very visual, it's very visceral. And I thought, that might be good to include into a film. The interesting thing about Singapore is, you know, for those people who know it, you know, it sits on the equator. It is a tropical country. We haven't got seasons. It's the same temperature all year round. The only time where, you know, the climate sort of changes, the weather sort of changes, it's during the monsoon season, where we, you know, for sometimes 5 weeks or 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, you just get a lot of rainfall. It gets very, very wet. And I just thought, yeah, that feels like the perfect setting to sort of describe or paint the emotional landscape of Ling, the protagonist in this film. And of course, you know, one could look at it from a different point of view as well. If you know, I think it also represents very much my feelings and thoughts of what I feel about Singapore, you know, and at present, you know, and in the past few years, you know, it's the way it's presented in the film, it's captured in the film. It's grey, it's cold, it's wet. The sun doesn't quite shine, even though Singapore is a very sort of like sunny island, and the sun only comes at the end of the film, but we're no longer in Singapore. Yeah, I'll leave audiences to figure all that out, but I've tried to do that. You know, rain as an element, as a poetic device in this film.